Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and basically its user experience and user interface and the accessibility in doing the sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So if you are a web designer or someone who's studying new media or graphic design or something like that, you might know about a course or something that people talk about, and it's called user experience and user interface. And I like to relate that back to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I took this course that it was given to me for free at a local community college. And basically it was I think a 12-week course, and it was on user experience and user interface. And so you may have this amazing software, but you have to design in a way where the user understand the navigational system, understand like how to go from one button to the next, understand that if they click on this button, it does this, etc. So I find Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in a way has one of the best user experience. Now Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu basically started from Judo, and it focused specifically on Ne-Waza, or the ground fighting portion of Judo, and from there it just kept on evolving, and now it's basically its own separate art. And so what's great about fighting on the ground compared to, let's just say, Judo, wrestling, catch wrestling, etc., is that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu doesn't have the pin. Okay, so in, like, for example, in Judo, you have to pin your opponent down for 25 seconds to if your opponent pins you down for 25 seconds, you might lose. You will lose the match. In wrestling, I think you pin two shoulders on the ground. I think for 3 seconds. Don't quote me on it. I don't wrestle. And for catch wrestling, same thing. And so with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there's no pinning. I mean, you're taught to pin so that you learn to apply pressure, and you learn to have a good top game. But you can't win from pinning, okay? And Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, when it first started, revolved around the guard. And so if you go to my YouTube channel or other YouTube channel, you'll see adults grappling with kids, or you will see size difference. Like a smaller guy, like maybe someone who outweigh another guy by 50, 60 pounds, and they still be able to play the game, provided the big guy doesn't try to crush the little guy. You know what I mean? So it's very, very playful in that regard. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has this very playfulness. And now the playfulness comes because the way the rule is constructed. Basically, there's submissions, okay? And there's no pinning combination. You can't win by pin. And so therefore, a bigger guy, can't use all his strength. So a little guy can find wedges or wiggle his way out to continue playing the game. So I'm like, I'm not very big. I'm like 5'4". I'm currently 155 pounds, and I teach kids class. I teach kids how to grapple, and kids love my grappling class because when I grapple with them, it's so playful. I'm flipping them all over the place. I'm pinning them lightly. They're learning to escape. They're catching arm bars on me. I'm catching arm bars on them. With flowing around. So if you think about it, if you look at Mother Nature, that's how little bear cubs learn to defend themselves. They're play fighting. If you watch any animals that can walk on all four, like bear cubs, koala bears, panda, etc., when they fight, that's how they fight. They're rolling around, and it's very playful, and so they're learning to fight in a very playful manner. So I find a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to have that uniqueness, that user interface that is not in other martial arts system. For example, if you do boxing, if there's a significant size difference and the bigger boxer is not very skilled, when every time he throws a punch, there's a lot of power and force behind it, and it will hurt the significantly smaller guy. But in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you don't really get that. Same thing with Judo. When you have a bigger player doing Judo throw with a smaller player, especially in the beginning level of Judo, you don't have that skill yet, and so the bigger guy will have a significant advantage. Now in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the significant advantage gets neglected a little bit because you're not dealing with vector force. You're dealing with a different type of entanglement type of motion, engagement versus a vector force momentum way of slamming someone. Wrestling, for example, has pinning combinations. You can pin your opponent, you can take your opponent down, slam them. And so it's not very fun if there's a huge size difference. So one thing that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is very unique, once again, is the way the game is constructed. So when I started my MMA school, I redeveloped my grappling program. So my grappling program basically started out with a lot of Ne-Waza, a lot of ground fighting, and then from there it just evolves into more. As you get more skill, you learn more and more throws and more takedowns. And how I construct the program is that I teach my students how to strike and how to grapple, right? And basically it's a bridge program. If you only want to do the grappling program, by the time you get a black belt from me, you will know like 20%. Your skill development will be about 20% how to strike, around 20 to 30%. And if you just learn how to strike from me, by the time you're a black belt from me, you'll have about 20 to 30% grappling skills. And if you do both programs at the same time, you have equal balance on both sides. And so I basically redeveloped my judo program, my grappling program, because I was really heavily influenced by Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And so historically, you can find evidence with that. Kosen Judo. Now, a lot of people get confused. They think Kosen Judo, they think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu came from Kosen Judo, which is not true. The people who taught Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Miyata, was a student of Jigoro Kano. Kosen Judo came way after Miyata went to Brazil and started teaching his style of judo. Okay, and so Kosen Judo, if you look at the kanji or the Chinese Hanzi, it means technical school. And so imagine trying to teach high school students or middle school students how to do judo, right? And in my previous video, I mentioned that I gravitated to the ground portion of judo because it's much easier to learn, it's much fun. And so what happened is these technical schools, there was about 7 of them that redesigned the judo program, and they call it Kosen Judo. So Kosen Judo is not really a style, it's more like a rule set that these 7 schools agree upon on how to play the game, so that when they compete in judo, they kind of know how to score the points. And so they developed a lot of unique groundwork that was not being developed in judo, because they allow the students to spend way more time being on the ground versus having to launch someone or throw someone. And so that's how Kosen Judo came about. So that's where the confusion comes in. So I might shoot a video talking about that. So accessibility. So Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has a very unique accessibility feature that is very unique compared to other grappling art. So when I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I couldn't afford a lot of mats. So basically I would just get carpet, or I would go to the store and get a lot of carpet remnant, the foam portion of it, and lay them on top. And then I would get like plastic, like tarp to put on top of the foam that goes underneath the carpet. And so with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because there's no slam, there's no takedown. I mean, there is, but they give a very small amount of points for that. They give only 2 points, and that's not something they emphasize. You're able to basically watch something on YouTube, or watch a VHS tape, or read a book and experiment and figure it out on your own. You know what I mean? It's so much accessible versus judo. Judo, you cannot practice the art of judo if you don't have good mats. Now you can practice the Ne-Waza portion, the ground fighting portion, but for the stand-up throwing portion, very, very hard. If you don't have good mats, it's very painful. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, when it started getting really popular, a lot of schools would buy jigsaw puzzle mats, and they would teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and the jigsaw puzzle mat was so hard that if you were to throw someone on it, it's not fun. Well, most schools, most BJJ schools don't emphasize throwing. This is a very, very dirty secret. Most BJJ instructors don't know how to teach throws, don't know how to do wrestling. And to be honest, the throwing, the wrestling skill is very, very basic. I'm not saying all, I'm saying the majority of them. And so, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's this is why I think one of the reasons why the sport grew so fast was that you didn't need a lot of expensive mat to start. You just needed something soft so you can wrestle or mess around with your partner, with your friends, and figure out the move. And I think that helped contribute to the growth of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys liked this short video. I will talk more about the sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and why it grew so fast and the unique features of it. I will also compare it to Judo because Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu came from Judo, and it's kind of unique in the sense that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is just blowing up and Judo is stagnant and it's also on the decline. Alright, talk to you guys later.